Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, Divinely Transformed, where healing is freedom and it begins within. And together we break the chains of karma and reclaim our power and rise into divine sovereignty. Your path to autonomy and freedom starts right here. Welcome back to my channel, whichever the case may be. I'm so glad that you could be here with me today for my special presentation of what I am calling my Dark Feminine series. And today is the first installment of my Dark Feminine series, in which I will be exploring 4 very controversial dark feminine figures in pop culture society, in celebrity circles. The first one that I will be exploring today is a woman that is starting to become more and more known to the general public as in recent times. I don't recall ever hearing about this woman before this year, but rest assured, this woman has been around in our celebrity circles, influencing them, as I shall say, just to keep it general. So this woman's a very controversial figure in the fact of what she represents. This woman's official job title is a visual artist and a performance artist. However, there are some speculations that I'm not really going to go into, but there are some speculations that this woman is a high-profile celebrity handler, and some people are calling her a witch. I am not doing any of those things. I don't feel that I know enough about this figure to pass any judgment. And honestly, like, when it comes to passing judgment, that's not for me. Judgment is for God alone. And what I would call judgment is my intuitive perception. That's what I mean when I say judgment, because I reserve judgment for God and God alone. But we will be exploring some dark feminines, controversial figures, try to make some more sense out of it, because there's so much information and speculation out there that I just don't want to contribute to it. But the woman that I will be doing a birth chart analysis on today is a woman you may or may not have heard. Her name is Michele Lamy. She was born on April 20th, 1944, and the internet lists her birth time as 12 p.m. This is the only verifiable birth chart I have to work with, so we must assume that this birth chart is correct because it is the only one that we have available to us. And Michele Lamy was born in I don't even know if I can say this correctly, but Oyonnax, France. And I probably butchered it terribly. But she is not American. However, she does reside in America. So as I always do, I start with the first house. The first house is the house of identity, their presence and their aura. And she has a small stellium in this first house. She has her Cancer ascendant in here. She has her Pluto and Leo in the first house, as well as her North Node in Leo. So the energy of Cancer rising, this is someone who is intuitive, protective, emotionally perceptive exterior. So she projects to the world that she's intuitive, protective, and emotionally perceptive. When someone has Pluto in their first house, they're very intense, magnetic, and they have a transformative presence for the positive or the negative. The North Node in the first, this is someone who is destined to embody power unapologetically. The dark feminine's expression is, I feel everything, and I control what I reveal. People feel seen, exposed, and pulled in. The shadow side of this energy is emotional defensiveness and power struggles through presence. Like, her presence alone is enough for power struggles. She doesn't even really need to speak because of that Pluto and North Node in the first house. The power behind this is Michele Lamy has energetic dominance without speaking. And her identity is rooted in self-sovereignty. When Pluto and the North Node is in the first house, it is karmic power embodiment. This is someone who is meant to become the force, not follow one. So, this is a leader. She walks into a room. Everyone notices her. Her visual look aside, it's her energy. And then she just then she just creates her physical appearance in a way that correlates with that raw power that she embodies, that karmic power with having Pluto and North Node in the first house. So let's go to the second house, which is the house of value, money, and self-worth. She has her Jupiter in Leo in the second house. That energy is just expansion through creativity, self-expression, and uniqueness. And she definitely capitalizes and embodies that. The shadow side of having Jupiter and Leo in the second house is having her ego tied to validation. So she's constantly wanting and seeking validation of her identity. And the power of this is that Michele Lamy accumulates wealth through authentic identity and creative authority. And she has definitely done very well in that area as well. Her value increases the more she is fully herself. So, this is a woman who creates her identity, her authentic identity, and she makes more more wealth when she's in her most authentic self. The third house is the house of communication, the house of learning, the house of your mind, and the house of your voice. She's got a little stellium in here. She's got Neptune retrograde in Libra. She's got her Lilith in Virgo in this third house, and she's got her Chiron in Virgo. So the energy of this is that she's very mystical, poetic, but she has piercing communication. And I've seen a few videos of her speaking, and her communication can be definitely described as piercing communication. Honestly, it makes me uncomfortable, but I'm not judging her. That's just my intuitive perception of the way she projects herself. That Virgo and Libra is a balance between precision and aesthetic truth. The dark feminine signature here is that Lilith and Chiron conjunction energy. Same sign, close degrees. So that makes that Virgo energy extremely potent. That Lilith and Chiron in Virgo. The shadow side of this energy is she feels misunderstood often. And she can either be hypercritical of people or she can be completely silent. Both is very shadowy in nature. The power that is harnessed here is her voice. It cuts through illusion and exposes truth, which could be why she doesn't speak very often. And another power here of hers is that her psychic perception is in communication. But this is the quiet but the lethal observer archetype. So she's the one in the room saying the least. And she is observing everyone through their communication. The fourth house is the house of home, the roots, and one's emotional foundation. She doesn't have any personal planets in here. The only thing is the Imam Coeli, which is always on the fourth house cusp. It's in Libra. Whenever the Imam Coeli is in Libra, which is in the fourth house, there's a desire for harmony, but she often learns through imbalance. And the shadow energy of having the Imam Coeli in Libra is she has roots of being very people-pleasing. And the power that emanates from having her Imam Coeli in Libra is creating inner equilibrium independent of others. So that just means like the inner flow that she creates within, it has nothing to do with other people. She is a self-directed woman. Very much like I am. In some ways. She just chooses to project it much differently. The fifth house is the house of creativity, romance, self-expression, also children, and she has a couple placements in here. She has her white moon Selena in Sagittarius, and she has her vertex in Sagittarius here in this fifth house. The dark energy here is her creative expression is tied to truth, expansion, and destiny. The power that she harnesses through this fifth house is her creative channel equals divine guidance. Like, she considers herself to be a creative channel for the gods that she worships. And her power is also connected to and through fated creative encounters. So, fated encounters are connected to her creativity. And that is exactly what we do know about Michele Lamy. Her art is part of her soul contract. Like, she is compelled to communicate through visual and performance art. The 6th house is the house of work, routine, and health. And she has her Pholus and Capricorn in the 6th house. And Pholus just means that small actions create massive ripple effects. And the shadow energy of having the Pholus in Capricorn in the 6th house is overworking and pressure. Whether that's pressure imposed upon her from outward sources or whether that's pressure she puts herself under, it's probably a mixture of both. And the power that she harnesses through that Pholus and Capricorn in the 6th house is that her discipline creates transformation. This woman is constantly transforming and reinventing herself in a creative way and in her identity as well. I wouldn't say that it's fake, but there's a level of it that I believe is performative and a level of it that is authentic. So I believe that it's a mixture of both authenticity and performance. So that's just what I think about her art and how it's tied to her karmic contract for being here on this planet. The 7th house is your house of relationships and the people that are your friends, people, your family members, the people who mirror you. Her descendant is in here. Her descendant it's the opposite of the ascendant. The ascendant is the 1st house. The descendant is always the 7th house. Her descendant is in Capricorn, and how she is in her relationships with others is Capricornian. And her south node is in Aquarius, which is also here in the 7th house. So the dark energy that she harnesses from the 7th house energy is past life or early life pattern of detachment or overgiving to others. So early in her current life and in her past life, she has patterns of either complete detachment in her relationships or overgiving in her relationships. The shadow side of this energy in the 7th house is losing your identity in relationships. That's actually something she and I have in common as far as our birth charts. Like, we have the same rising sign in the same house. We have the same south node. We have the same sun sign. We have the same moon sign. But even though we have a lot of similar placements, we couldn't be any more different. The way we manifest ourselves is completely different. And the shadow side of that South Node in Aquarius in the 7th house is also attracting emotionally unavailable partners. And let me tell you what, as someone who has had a very long history of attracting those kinds of partners, my relationships were an absolute nightmare in the past, because I would overgive and I would overcompensate and I would lose myself in all of these relationships, and all of these relationships were one-sided with me doing everything. So this is similar energy that we have in common with one another. The power of the South Node in Aquarius is the ability to choose relationships that respect sovereignty. So, if there's any kind of a family relationship or a friend relationship or a partner relationship that doesn't respect my sovereignty, which is my drive to self-direct myself, I just don't have anything to do with those individuals who don't respect my sovereignty as a person. They don't respect my autonomy, my ability to do anything for myself, or any of those things. So, with that being said, my relationship circles are small because I only keep the people in my life that allow me to be myself, which is an independent, self-directed woman. The South Node in the 7th house, whenever we are not aware of our karmic patterns, it equals karmic relationship lessons. So we both have had a very long history of learning lessons through karmic relationships of every single kind. She doesn't have anything in her 8th house, which is the house of intimacy, power, transformation, death. It also has to do with shared bonds. So she doesn't have any placements in there. So the dark energy that's harnessed through here is activated through rulers and aspects, which Pluto in the 1st house. So her 8th house is activated through her 1st house, the way that she presents herself to the world. And the power here is that Michele Lamy is the transformation, and she doesn't need external triggers. These triggers can be internal. And she is constantly transforming in her identity as well as in her creative expression. The 9th house is the house of your belief systems, spirituality, higher learning. And she has her Pisces moon in here. And it's 26 degrees Pisces moon. So whenever this is called a late degree, and whenever a sign placement is in a late degree, there is more pressure to transform. The dark energy of Moon and Pisces in the 9th house is that she embodies deep mysticism and a spiritual sensitivity that most people have a hard time grasping or understanding. The shadow side of this is escapism, which can be through substances, through behaviors, and also illusion. She can definitely create illusions around her belief system, her spirituality, and how she learns. I mean, the raw power behind her moon in Pisces in the 9th house is that she has an emotional connection to gods. I don't necessarily mean the typical ones, because it's pretty evident that this woman worships different deities. And she also has psychic level intuition. And as I touched on just a couple minutes ago about that late degree moon at 26 degrees, it shows her emotional mastery through her experience. So her experiences cause emotional mastery for her. The 10th house is all about the career, her legacy, public image, how people see you in regards to her work. She has a pretty decent stellium here in this 10th house. She has her sun in Taurus in the 10th house. She has Venus in Aries in the 10th house. She has her Juno in Aries and her midheaven, which is always in the 10th house. It's called the midheaven. It's also in Aries. So this stellium for the 10th house emphasizes public identity, which makes her bold, sensual, and commanding. That Taurus sun is a grounded authority, and the Aries influence is a fearless visibility. And with the way that she presents her visual aesthetic to the world, she definitely embodies all of this energy. What a stellium means is it just means that there's a heavy focus here when it concerns legacy, reputation, and influence. And her life revolves around being seen and making impact. The shadow side of her 10th house stellium is there. She usually, that's not what I want to say. There's public power struggles that she can cause with just by being present. And the other shadow side of this 10th house stellium is her tendency to over-identify with her status, which I can totally see that. The raw power here is that she has an iconic presence, and that is definitely very accurate. Whether we interpret that iconicness as positive or negative, she still has an iconic presence. And Michele Lamy leads through authenticity and not conformity. So she's never going to conform to normal traditional life. That's not her style. It's not her flavor. I can, honestly, identify with that in some aspects. With her 0-degree sun, which is also a critical degree, she embodies raw, potent Taurus energy. With the Aries midheaven and the Aries Venus, that's feminine leadership in public space. And she definitely embodies that as well. She also has a nice little stellium here in her 11th house, which is all about community, networking, the collective. And she has her Mercury in Taurus in here, Uranus in Gemini, her Pallas in Taurus, and her part of fortune in Gemini is also in here in this 11th house. The dark energy that is embodied through this stellium is that Michele Lamy is a strategic thinker within communities, and that's very accurate. And she has a very unique, unconventional social presence. Also extremely accurate. The shadow side of having this stellium in the 11th house is feeling different or misunderstood. And that's the second time that feeling different or misunderstood has come up in this birth chart reading. I believe that she embraces this. I believe that she is amused by being misunderstood. Again, that's just my belief, not fact. Her raw power is that she has a very innovative voice when she chooses to speak. And she has a tendency to gain through communication and networking, blending the stability of Taurus and innovation of Uranus and Gemini that makes her very influential in the circles that she is in. She's also got another stellium here in her 12th house, which is the house of the subconscious, the house of the shadow, the house of the hidden realms. You can't place what's in the 12th house because it's hidden, right? The 8th house is pretty hidden too. She has her Mars in Cancer in here. She has Saturn in Gemini in this 12th house. She's got Vesta in Gemini, and she's got Ceres in Cancer in the 12th house. She's got a very powerful 12th house stellium. And that dark energy that she can harness through this 12th house stellium is she has a very deep inner world. And there's a hidden emotional intensity. That means emotionally she is very intense and she is able to hide that. And she has very strong subconscious processing. The shadow of this 12th house stellium is suppressed anger, isolation, and over-sacrifice. Giving up too much for others who don't even reciprocate with you. The raw power that she's able to harness from this 12th house stellium is psychic protection. She definitely has massive spiritual discipline. And she has emotional intelligence that can be used as a weapon. The 12th house stellium equals hidden power, and it's a spiritual warrior archetype. So I'm just going to go over a few other things here. That 0 degree sun in Taurus, that is pure archetype expression, which means raw power. And the embodied feminine power at its rawest form. The late degree moon, that Pisces at 26 degrees, shows that she's a very old soul and has deep emotional wisdom and knows the difference of, and not only knows the difference of, but also has developed mastery of illusion versus intention. She's very good at hiding intention and projecting illusion. Pluto in the first house. This is a lifetime of transformation, and others project onto her constantly, which can cause her to be emotionally reactive. Maybe not now, but like in her early life, before she learned to get more control over her emotions. The overall dark feminine themes here, their dominant energies are in her 12th, 10th, and 1st house especially. The 12th house is the house of the hidden, the psychic, and the subconscious. The 10th house is the house of her public power and legacy, and how she is seen in regards to her career. And the 1st house is her presence, her identity, and her intensity. Shadow versus power. The shadow characteristics is going from emotional overwhelm to someone who has deep psychic awareness. And she went from having hidden anger to being able to energetically protect herself. Losing herself and others, she was able to find and cultivate her sovereign identity. Isolation, which has led to sacred solitude. And control dynamics has led to having embodied authority. Like, she just embodies that natural gravitas, that natural authority, for better or for worse. So Michele Lamy's chart embodies the hidden priestess, that 12th house stellium, the public icon, the 10th house stellium, the magnetic transformer, that Pluto 1st house, and the sovereign self with her North Node 1st house Leo. She is both seen, very visible, and also unknowable because of that 12th house energy. And she lives in that duality, being seen but yet unknowable. And that duality is where her power comes from. So I hope you found Michele Lamy's chart just as interesting as I found it. This woman has spent an entire lifetime of transforming herself. And in doing so, she has created such power and influence for herself. I don't subscribe to the way that she projects herself. I don't subscribe to the way that she presents herself. However, I do recognize a strong figure when I see one. And I think I'll just leave it at that. Because my intention is not to pass judgment, because, like I said before in the beginning of this video, judgment's reserved for God and God alone. But I don't intend to speak about her in ways that would assume that I know her in any way, shape, or form. My intuitive perception of her is that I believe that she taps into dynamics and mystical energy that I would just assume leave alone. And I think that that's probably the most respectful way that I can say it. Because she is the epitome and the embodiment of the dark feminine, which I don't relate to anymore. There was a time when I once related to the shadow side of myself and the shadow side of the collective of people as a whole. But I don't live there anymore. So, I hope y'all found this just as interesting as I have. She's of the dark and I'm of the light. I don't subscribe to her methods and the way that she manifests how she looks to the world. But that's really not for me to decide. I'll just focus on the positives here, and I basically have transformed that people-pleasing into someone who sees the patterns and refuses to fall back into those old patterns of losing myself in relationships and people-pleasing. And I can just be nobody but myself, which is someone who is strong, independent, and completely sovereign. Independent of what anyone thinks or says about me. I am still self-directed, just as she is. So, if you learned something from it, if you liked it, if it intrigued you, whatever, can you please hit the like button? My channel really needs all the help that it can get. YouTube does not promote the long version videos anymore, and so my long videos aren't getting out there to anybody. So if anybody can do anything to help this, please help me, because my content deserves to be seen by many more people than it does reach. If anyone is interested in any of my services, a tarot reading or a birth chart analysis, all of my information will be in the description box below. Everything you'll need to know is down there. And if you'd like to drop a comment, I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And thank y'all for supporting me on all of my platforms. And I'll talk to y'all soon.